Hello, and welcome to episode 7 of the Bob World Builder BOBCAST Patreon podcast. Yeah. Today, I'm here with my trusty co-host, Grace World Destroyer.
Hi.
And in the spirit of talking about Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, we thought we would do some of that, because just made a video with a flip through about it, made a video about session zeros, and I got a few more things planned, but I don't plan on talking about the subclasses pretty much at all. So we're going to do that here by going through our favorite subclasses for each class. And this is going to be part 1 of this discussion because we've got a lot to say about these things, I guess. And let's just dive right in.
Here we go. We're going to start with a class that I would probably never play. Wizard.
Not a wizard fan?
I'm not really a wizard fan. I mean, it's cool that they get all these like really powerful spells and stuff, but I just don't really like classes that are full magic.
Okay.
Which is why the Blade Singer is perfect for me.
Oh.
Because you can use a sword.
Yeah.
And you're good at it. I mean, any wizards can theoretically use a sword.
Can they, though?
Well, they don't have proficiency in it, but they can use it. So basically, you're this wizard, and you have this sword, and you, like, dance around with it and use it for spells and stuff. Well, this made its first appearance, I believe, in Sword Coast Adventures Guide?
I think that's right, actually, yeah. That it was included in there.
And now it's been compiled in this book. But, yeah, so you have this sword, and you sing.
Is it a special sword, or is it just like...
No, I think it's just a normal sword.
But you're special.
It's
like your focus, I guess.
Yeah, and then you have this thing called your Blade Song that just allows you to move around.
Yeah, you can move faster. Doesn't it make your AC go up? At least that's what it used to do.
Yeah, so you gain a bonus to your AC equal to your intelligence modifier.
Wow.
And gain, like, a bonus to your concentration checks. So,
nice.
When you activate your Blade Song, not only are you better at spellcasting, but also, like, you can actually be in melee combat without dying instantly.
Yeah, which is crazy for a wizard. And it does make me sense a theme a little bit of your characters. I feel like, at least, I don't know, I always go back to thinking of Fortune Face Seeker, who was like spellcaster, but also really good with a sword.
Yeah. I like swords, and I like magic, but one without the other is a no-go for me.
Cool. Yeah. They get an extra attack later on. They get to, absorb damage while your Blade Song is active. You can take damage, spend a reaction, and eventually add your intelligence modifier to your attacks.
With your sword, yes.
Yeah, I think that's like a really just interesting mechanic. It makes me think of these like Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes style thing where he's like so smart that he can just he can like dodge the enemy. Like that's how I'm imagining the AC boost is, adding your intelligence, right?
Yeah, like reading your enemy.
Yeah, and I feel like
predicting where they will strike.
I feel like this kind of does it better than that like mastermind rogue, which I think is what, I don't know if it does the same thing.
Well, the inquisitive rogue is actually the one that can
be Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really like that comparison because I'm not a huge fan of Sherlock Holmes. But
I mean, I'm not either. But anyway, I guess speaking of rogues, why don't we jump over to that one?
Rogues. The one that made the impression on me was the Phantom Rogue, which is kind of like this edgy necromancer spirit medium rogue. And if you have listened to Aspire Peak, you know that I love just really corny edginess. So if I were to play this Phantom, I would basically make it like they brood in the corner but secretly really need attention at all times, you know?
Not Danny Phantom?
Maybe Danny Phantom. That would actually be pretty fun. But I think Danny Phantom is actually more of a fighter than a rogue.
Yeah, I really don't remember much of that. I'm more of a Sherlock Holmes fan than a Danny Phantom fan.
Yeah. So the Phantom Rogue allows you to use spirits that you summon from the grave to damage your enemies by yelling at them, which I think is pretty neat. And also, you can get like additional skill or tool proficiencies from your little ghosty friends, which is cool because it's a little bit more adaptable to situations, whereas a rogue, you kind of have a very specific set of skills, usually. But what if you really want to do like a lot of push-ups, but you're a rogue, so you have like a strength of 9 or something? You can call these ghosts, and they make you better at athletics.
Yeah. Friend of the show, our friend Steven, not a Steven we've talked about before and who's been on some like videos and stuff, another Steven, who we also work with and play D&D with, told me about this class. And basically, like, you take a long rest, and then you can kind of rearrange your skill proficiencies? Or at least, like, switch a few?
Short or long rest.
Short or long. Yeah, that's crazy. Which I feel like just makes this, like, the most adaptable class.
Yeah. I mean, it's only one proficiency that you don't already have that you can add one. You don't, like, switch them around or anything.
Oh, okay. So you have, like, one temporarily that you move around based on these ghosts, what they're good at?
Yeah. Sort of.
Yeah. I mean, nonetheless, being able to do that, combined with how rogues are already very skillful, makes them even better at that.
Yeah. But one of the most powerful things, probably, that you get as a phantom is your token of the departed. So you get this, like, soul trinket when a life ends in your presence, is specifically the wording used in the book. And you can use it to do a number of things. Like, each soul trinket can do one thing, and you can have a maximum of soul trinkets equal to proficiency bonus. But one of the things you can use it for is to get advantage on your death saving throws.
Wow.
Which
That's
is
very handy.
Pretty, because, like, the death saving throw is supposed to represent you being fully in the hands of fate, which is why there's no modifier. And it's just a 50-50 or like a kind of a 51. 50, yeah. But you know. But now you have advantage on that.
Yeah.
I don't really get that though, because I feel like if you basically are using ghosts to do things for you, like binding them to you, they'd be mad about that.
It should be easier for you to die.
And it should be easier for you to die.
Yeah, if you're kind of. I mean, I guess it depends on what the relationship is really like, whether it's you just using these spirits, or somehow maybe it's helping them by allowing them to feel useful again.
Yeah, maybe it's the spirit of your dead grandma who just really wants to watch over you.
I mean, that'd be a cool way to really flavor this too.
Yeah, or maybe it's just the fact that you're constantly awash in necrotic energies.
Yeah,
so you're kind of used to your soul being sucked out of you.
Yeah. And
pretty edgy.
I really like the sound of this soul trinket thing, because it reminds me of one of my favorite old video games, Champions of Norath, where I always played a dark elf, which class and race were kind of the same thing. And they were pretty, like, roguey, but also sort of a fighter with magic kind of stuff. And they could do this cool, like, absorbing souls thing and, like, heal themselves or get other boosts of, like, mana and stuff. So that's what that reminded me of.
Boost your mana. You can turn into a ghost. That is very Danny.
Yeah. Ghost
so you can go ghost.
Oh, that's what he called it.
Yeah. You can walk through walls, disappear, and fly.
Wow. And this is at level 13. Okay.
Actually, I was just quoting the theme song of Danny Phantom, but you can hover. Oh, you can fly.
Yeah.
You can fly.
I mean, and you're in a spectral form. I feel like you can probably walk through walls. Yeah, you can, as long as you don't get stuck in them and you would take damage.
But you can't disappear.
Okay.
You're not invisible.
But you're a spectral form.
Right. You're kind of see-through.
Yeah.
I would probably play it that, like, my rogue just, like, puts on their cloak like a ghost costume.
Yeah. And they get a little Death's Friend at 17th level. When you use something else, it does some necrotic damage. Wails from the Grave. Wails from the Grave just sounds like a funny band name.
Yeah, it does. But what if you spelled it like WHALE?
Exactly. That's what I meant, actually.
But later you can use it. Wails from the Grave, which was the thing that makes ghosts yell at a creature and deals necrotic damage. You can do that to 2 different creatures.
Cool. Now, let's jump to maybe one of the edgier ones that I looked at, which is one of these paladins. So one of the ones that I picked for the paladin is, I guess to explain a little how we did this before we jump into the paladin. Grace just kind of picked some classes that really jumped out to her as she's working on a character for a new campaign right now, and in general was just excited to read through the book. And then I picked a favorite from all the classes that she didn't pick, including the paladin, which I'll say was the hardest for me to pick a favorite because I kind of just wasn't that interested in either of them. But Oath of the Watchers was pretty cool. As usual, great paladin flavor of their tenets of like vigilance, loyalty, discipline, blah, blah, blah. I kind of really liked the Oath of Glory one because it really stood out to me. The art was very evocative. I feel like that's a thing from Mythic Odysseys of Theros,
it is
which
from
you've been
Mythic
reading
Odysseys
through.
of Theros.
But ended up going with this Watchers one because Glory just seemed like you can make yourself jump really far and like run faster. And it seemed like every ability was just about being an athlete. But this one comes with some neat spells like Alarm, Detect Magic, See Invisibility. So it is going to make you very good at like knowing when enemies are around and being ready for enemies. It's good in that way to support your party because at 7th level, they get this Aura of the Sentinel, which you emit an aura of alertness when you aren't incapacitated. You and any creatures of your choice within 10 feet of you have a bonus on initiative equal to your proficiency bonus. And getting that at 7th level, like +4 or something probably, to like your whole party's initiative if they're really packed in close to you.
Yeah,
pretty
that's
awesome.
Pretty crazy.
Yeah. And their Channel Divinity, at least the second one here, Abjure the Extraplanar, is basically like a turn undead, but it can do it for everything except undead, like aberration, celestial, elemental, fey, or fiend. So it's like a really powerful turn undead that just doesn't do undead. But it turns like everything else.
Do paladins already? No, they can like sense undead, but they can't turn them. Yeah, that's pretty neat. But it might be kind of for a specific type of campaign.
Yeah.
Because your thing is that like, I guess you're like normal good against fighting other humans, but it's really about like extraplanar creatures rather than, like normal monstrosities.
Right. Which is just something that isn't usually my flavor of D&D, personally. So that's why kind of neither of these paladins really jumped out at me. But to go to something that really did, I'm going to skip to the barbarian here. So if you watched my flip through video of going through Tasha's, I did spend a bunch of time on the barbarian, partially because it was the first class, besides Artificer, which I kind of like breezed over. But really what jumped out at me right away and is still something I'm pretty invested in, would totally want to play, is this Path of the Beast barbarian.
I really like this one too, actually.
Yeah. It kind of caught my eye right away with this like epic art piece of this just person, claws outstretched, like crazy. It's like basically like a half lycanthrope is kind of how I think about it. And it's just very like rich with lore for me. I feel like this is what barbarians are kind of about. I'm recently listening to this audiobook about like werewolves, and it's talking about like Nordic berserkers, how that literally translates to like bear shirts or something, because they would wear these furs and then like, of course they were on like crazy drugs and stuff, but then basically trip out and be evoking this spirit of a wild animal and like do crazy stuff, crazy feats of strength or whatever.
Yeah, it's kind of like the totem barbarian, but like more wild.
Yeah, and it's like more mixed with almost a berserker barbarian. I just feel like it's very true to what a barbarian's rage should be, in my eyes anyway. And so it starts off right away with this cool little table for your barbaric bestial origin, basically, One of them is that, okay, you have like an ancestor who's a lycanthrope. One of them is you're a descendant of a druid. Maybe it was a gift from the Fae, or just some ancient animal spirit dwells within you, allowing you to walk this path. And the first thing you get at 3rd level, which I'll admit is kind of a thing that, like, why would you only be getting this at 3rd level? But maybe this awakens within you. And whenever you rage, you can basically have your mouth turn into like a crazy bestial snout that does a bite attack. You can get a claw attack that's like also really good, and or I should say a spiky tail that you can attack with and get a bonus to your AC from, which is really handy for a barbarian.
Did you mention that the bite, if you have less than half your hit points remaining, allows you to regain hit points?
I didn't.
That's
and
pretty neat.
Is that something that like lizard folk can also do? Because I know they get a bite,
yes,
but do they heal from it?
But I think it's weaker than this.
Because I was thinking about that.
Or at least it
like,
doesn't increase proportionally to your level like this does.
Yeah, but like playing this class on top of like being a lizard folk or being even like a dragonborn or even like an Aarakocra, but like, or a tabaxi would be great with the claws. Like any one of these animal races would just be really thematic with this to me.
Yes, very flavorful.
Yeah. Later on, you know, your weapon attacks with these forms kind of become magical. You can get a swimming speed or a climbing speed or make your jumps really good. So I guess kind of touching on that paladin stuff I didn't like, but it's cool here to me.
It's kind of like, what's the spell? Is it Alter Self?
Oh, yeah. I think so.
So basically you get access to Alter Self. I mean, Alter Self might have some stuff that is not in this, but still, like, pretty useful, you know, depending on environment that you're in.
Yeah. And the last 2 features at 10th and 14th level are basically things that kind of allow your allies, if I understood this correctly, to get some rage aspects, like as if they're feeding off of your energy.
Well, the 10th level one looks like it forces creatures that you attack to rage.
Yeah.
Sort of like rabies. Like you're infecting them with rabies.
Yeah. So overall, this is just something that really stood out to me as an awesome subclass from this book. And that I'm excited to play because I really like barbarians.
Yeah, so speaking of turning into animals, we can look at the druids subclass that I liked, which was Circle of Stars.
Yeah. Which,
you know, additional to being able to turn into animals, you can basically turn into a constellation.
Yeah. This stood out to me as well, just as I was doing my flip through.
But I kind of thought it was cool because I, you know, just finished reading Mythic Odysseys of Theros. And in Theros, there are these things called Nyxborn. And Nyx is basically like the sky.
Oh, okay.
The whole sky. And that's the realm of the gods. So things that are Nyxborn, in areas of their body that are shadowed or just not directly lit, they just have like a starry kind of pattern. Like you're looking into the sky. And that's kind of like what this is. So I thought it'd be really cool to combine in Theros if you chose like to be Nyxborn, which is something you can do, to have this then as part of like your Nyxborn powers to turn into this starry form. Yeah,
this definitely stands out to me as something that, I guess this wasn't in Theros though?
No, it's not.
Yeah, just thinking of like the constellations. And
well, yeah, because that's also really important in
that
Greek
kind of culture
and
which Theros is based on. So
yeah,
definitely seems thematic with that setting.
Yeah. So in addition to that, you get all the guiding spells. Guidance, guiding bolt, and then guidance and guiding bolt.
While holding this map, so you get a map of the stars.
Yeah, a star map that allows you to cast that you use as your spell casting focus. And then, so your starry form allows you to choose a type of constellation, which, you know, you have to expend your a use of your wild shape. So kind of strategically, it has to be the right moment, because part of having wild shape is that you basically get the temporary hit points when you turn into an animal. You don't get that with the starry form.
But these have other features.
But yes, they have other features.
3 types here.
So you can basically choose, like, make a ranged spell attack that does 1d8 plus your wisdom modifier. You can boost your spells, or boost your healing capabilities of your spells. And you can get one that makes it easier to concentrate on spells.
Which are all still very useful.
Yeah.
And to me, like, thinking of the starry form, a while ago, Grace played a character that was an Aasimar, I guess, and had this, like, angelic form.
Oh, yeah.
And it would just...
forget her name.
You describe this very, like, in a way, like, biblical, I guess. Like, as angels are written to look in the Bible.
She had, like, a humanoid body with, like, 9 wings, the head of a silver dragon, covered in eyes, of course. You gotta be
covered in eyes.
But then when the mouth of the dragon opened, it was just her face inside the mouth.
Yeah.
And then when she spoke, it was just like this really high-pitched tinnitus whine in your ears.
Yeah. So thinking of Grace playing like a starry form, like a druid that then is going to go into the starry form. Yeah, I think that'd be a lot of fun. And it looks like at later level, 6th level here, they get a wheel and woe kind of thing here.
Yeah, like a divination ability, sort of, that allows you to either add a d6 to an ally's attack roll or subtract a d6 from an enemy's attack roll, depending on if you roll even or odd on your Cosmic Omen dice.
And then, it looks like the star forms get a little boost later on. And finally, when you're in your starry form, you have resistance to some things: bludgeoning, piercing, slashing.
Yeah. So, I mean, that kind of makes up for the fact that you don't get those extra hit points in your starry form, but that doesn't come on until 14th level.
Yeah. And to transition here, one of the druids that stood out to me, actually, was this wildfire druid, because I hadn't heard much about that. Basically, they get a lot of cool fire spells, but they also can get, like, a kind of fiery companion, which is something that is added to, like, some of the other druids. But
I didn't really like that, because I just thought it was a less interesting Pact of the Chain.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, what really stood out to me in another class was this Ranger of the Swarm.
Yeah, I think Ranger of the Swarm has a lot of flavor potential, because your swarm can be anything that you want, just like tiny creatures. Like, what if you chose, like, tiny flying elephants or something?
Yeah, basically, like, when I was reading it, because the Fey Ranger in here really seemed cool to me, and I was kind of surprised you didn't pick that, being a Fey lover yourself.
Yeah, I'm a Fey lover, but I'm not really a Ranger lover, so...
Yeah. In any case, when I got to the Swarm Keeper, though, Swarm Keeper Ranger is actually the name, and seeing the table that it gives you for, like, some appearances to choose from, swarming insects is obviously a go-to, but the second one on the list is miniature twig blights. So I was instantly just like, yeah, that's awesome. Just have these, like, tiny, or I guess diminutive twig blights just kind of, like, hopping all over you
so many
at all times.
Jokes.
Oh yeah, I guess that could be an issue. But yeah, they could be fluttering birds or playful pixies, and then it even has a block of text in here referring you to the personalizing spells section that just tells you, hey, like, you can flavor this swarm however you want. So I know somebody I caught somewhere has already made a joke about, like, it being a bunch of chickens, because that's, like, specifically an example they use in that section of the book. But so this swarm can make attacks, they can push enemies, I think, or at least they can move you.
Yeah, you can fly a short distance at some point, can't you?
Yeah, you can fly, or gain a flying speed of 10 feet and hover as they're, like, lifting you up. That comes at 7th level.
It's kind of a funny image.
Yeah. I would imagine that the little twig blights are just, like, trampolining you up into the air or something.
You have like, a swarm of ants, and the ants just, like, lift you.
Yeah, they like, go, like, standing on each other.
They're like a swirling tornado of ants carrying you around.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I mean, you get some more spells related to that, of course. I don't know. I guess and the other ones just kind of boost your earlier abilities. But to me, maybe it was all for the flavor. It really stood out to me as something that would be super, super fun to play. And again, not that I've really played a lot of Rangers or anything. I am one of these people who, like, wishes the Ranger class were cooler. And so besides things like Gloomstalker and one or two others, this has now become a class that I would totally play.
Speaking of classes that we love for the vibe, but not necessarily for the mechanic, Cleric Circle of Twilight.
You don't love those mechanics?
I mean, the flying thing that you get later is pretty cool.
I didn't even notice that. It's good.
But the thing that I really loved about it is just that it's like a calming nighttime presence.
Little storybook.
Yeah.
Cleric.
Basically, I just picture this person who just like smells like lavender all the time. It's just a very soothing individual to be around. But I forgot about this very
I was gonna say
very
I'll like never forget
intense
first level feature.
First level feature. You can grant your allies a dark vision of 300 feet.
Yeah.
Which is your natural.
Yeah, you just always have.
You always
300
have 300 feet. And like my current, ranger character has 150 feet.
Yeah.
And I thought that was crazy.
Yeah.
But 300? What if you combined this with Gloomstalker and then you just got another 30 feet?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And you had 330. That's
better
than your regular vision.
What if you wore the goggles of night and yeah, I'm sure like that's the thing. If anything, this like ability is a little sign to me of what they call power creep in the game, where like new things being added to it are kind of better and better. Because this does go just way above and beyond like anybody's dark vision, which I feel like is already something that too many, races have. And now it's just like, well, you can get the best dark vision ever just by being the subclass.
Yeah. And then grant it to all your allies. You never have to use the light cantrip again.
Yeah.
Not that anyone ever actually remembers to use it.
Well, they don't need to because everyone always has dark vision anyway.
Yeah, but it is very much a support class cleric.
Well, what else did they get? Vigilant Blessing. As an action, you give one creature you touch advantage on the next initiative roll.
Yeah.
That's kind of handy.
Your channel divinity is the Twilight Sanctuary, which creates this sphere, this 30-foot radius sphere of soothing energy and dim light, which grants temporary hit points and ends charmed and frightened conditions.
Yeah, I mean, and how about this? At 6th level, you can draw on the mystical power of the night to rise into the air. As a bonus action, when you're in dim light or darkness, you can magically give yourself a flying speed equal to your walking speed for a minute.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Okay, I changed my mind. I like this for the vibe and the mechanics.
Yeah. I mean, it seems really good. Divine Strike later on.
Well, Divine Strike is
typical,
just like
right?
a typical kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like an extra, we don't really know what else to give it, so here's the Divine Strike.
Okay. And then at 17th level, this must be based on something earlier, but when your allies are in whatever your Twilight Sanctuary is, they gain half cover whenever they're in that sphere.
Which is what, like a +4 bonus to your AC, or is that total cover?
Half cover. Well, total cover is you can't be hit at all.
No.
There's 3/4 cover and
3/4 cover, I think, is +4.
Yeah, so it's probably like +2. So, pretty awesome.
It's probably another thing that would fit really well in Theros, actually.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, it's more of this kind of starry theme here. Yeah, and so speaking of some things from Theros...
I feel like we're saying speaking of a lot.
That's like my go-to segue during the podcast. And this seems like a good place to break this episode in half.
In other words, destroy it.
No, Grace, I'll destroy it. Keep building, everybody.